The tragic story of Tristan Bailey, murdered by her classmate at 13. The shattered silence. Before we dive into this haunting story, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and leave your thoughts down below. Because once you hear what happened to Tristan Bailey, you won't be able to look away. This isn't just another crime story. It's a nightmare that shattered a small town, and it's just getting darker. It was a cool September evening in Port St. Lucie, Florida. The sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the suburban streets in muted shades of twilight. On the surface, it looked like any other quiet neighborhood, kids biking home, neighbors chatting on porches, but beneath that calm, something brutal was unraveling. 13-year-old Tristan Bailey was supposed to be just like any other middle schooler. A bright smile, infectious laughter, and an energy that made her the heart of her cheerleading squad at Treasure Coast Middle School. But on this night, her world, and the world of everyone who knew her, was about to be shattered. At the edge of town, near a dilapidated park where the overgrown grass whispered secrets in the wind, a jogger stumbled over something unsettling, a small, lifeless body wrapped and hidden beneath a thin layer of leaves. The discovery sent a jolt through the local police department. The victim? None other than Tristan Bailey. Detective Rachel Marlowe was called in immediately. A veteran investigator with a sharp eye and a gut that never failed her, Rachel had seen her share of tragedies. But something about this case felt different, more chilling. As she crouched beside the body, the soft rustle of the leaves mixing with the night air, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a random act of violence. Tristan's body bore marks, bruises that told stories of struggle, wounds too deliberate to be accidental. But no signs of a weapon nearby. The scene was too neat, almost staged, like someone wanted to send a message. And that message was meant for more than just the police. Within hours, the media caught wind of the tragedy, and whispers began to spread. How could something so horrific happen to a child in their own community? The town was gripped by fear, disbelief swirling in the air like smoke. Then the name started to emerge: Aiden Fucci. Aiden, another 13-year-old at the same school, quiet and often overlooked, but with a dark side few had suspected. The students knew him as a loner, a boy who kept to himself, his eyes hiding more than they revealed. Some had heard rumors, but no one expected him to be involved in something this monstrous. Detective Marlowe dug deeper, piecing together the timeline. Tristan and Aiden had been classmates, their paths crossing daily in the hallways, sharing whispered secrets and stolen glances, or so it seemed. But beneath that facade, a storm was brewing. The investigation revealed that Aiden had been acting strangely in the days before Tristan's disappearance. School counselors noted his sudden withdrawal, odd outbursts, and chilling drawings that hinted at violence. But the signs had been missed, or ignored. When police went to question Aiden, they found an empty room. The boy had vanished, leaving behind a cryptic note: "I didn't mean to." The town was thrown into chaos. Was Aiden running out of guilt or something darker? Rachel and her team raced against time, tracing his steps through the school corridors, his social media posts, and the chilling voicemail left for his mother, filled with a terrifying mixture of regret and menace. But just when the investigation seemed to hit a wall, an anonymous tip led the detectives to a locker at the school, Aiden's locker. Inside they found a phone with a series of disturbing videos. In one, Aiden stared into the camera, his voice low and shaking. "She didn't listen. I had to do it." More than just evidence, these videos revealed a mind unraveling, a motive rooted in jealousy, anger, and something far more twisted than anyone expected. Then came the shock that no one saw coming. Hidden in the back of Aiden's phone gallery was a photo, Tristan's cheerleading uniform, bloodied and torn. But that wasn't the worst part. Tucked beneath it was a message, cryptic and chilling: "This is only the beginning." As Detective Marlowe stared at the screen, heart pounding, she knew this case wasn't over. What Aiden had done was only the surface of a much deeper darkness. And when they opened the locked basement door of Aiden's house, what they found inside changed everything. If you thought this story was intense, wait until you see what's next. Stay with me as we uncover the twisted layers behind Tristan Bailey's tragic end. But before that, smash that like, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss a single moment. The nightmare has just begun. Secrets in the shadows. Before we dive deeper into this nightmare, if you haven't yet, subscribe, like, and comment your thoughts below. The truth behind Tristan's death is darker than you can imagine, and every piece we uncover only pulls us further into a chilling web of betrayal and silence. The night they forced open the locked basement door at Aiden Fucci's family home, Detective Rachel Marlowe felt a cold shiver crawl down her spine. The basement was a dim, cluttered room filled with the smell of damp wood and forgotten memories. But what lay hidden there was far from ordinary, an eerie shrine to obsession, pain, and violence. Old newspapers plastered the walls, headlines about violent crimes, local tragedies, and warnings of danger. Scattered around were journals filled with frantic, almost incoherent writing, rantings about power, control, and something called the Purge. Aiden's world was a far cry from the quiet, withdrawn boy everyone thought they knew. Among the clutter, police found carefully wrapped bundles of Tristan's belongings, her school notebooks, cheerleading bows, even her phone, smashed beyond repair. But the most disturbing find was a blood-stained hoodie tucked beneath a loose floorboard, a chilling confirmation of the violence that had unfolded. The community's disbelief shifted into horror. How could a 13-year-old harbor such darkness? And why had no one seen the signs? School officials, neighbors, even friends were questioned, but many admitted to brushing off Aiden's strange behavior as just a phase. The failure to act would soon weigh heavily on everyone involved. Rachel's investigation expanded rapidly. Digital forensics revealed Aiden's online activity was a labyrinth of sinister posts and encrypted messages. On his phone were chats with anonymous users, discussions about anger, revenge, and something called final release. The terms made little sense at first, but as the detectives pieced together the puzzle, they realized they were glimpsing the mindset of a boy spiraling into violent obsession. One conversation stood out. Aiden had been planning the attack for weeks. He'd written in one chat, "She needs to learn what silence means." The cryptic threat sent shockwaves through the investigative team. Was Tristan's murder premeditated? Was this just the start of something worse? Amid the digital evidence, the detectives uncovered a more personal layer, a connection between Aiden and Tristan that no one suspected. Several texts from Tristan's phone, recovered from her cloud backup, hinted at a friendship that had gone dark. Tristan had confided in a close friend about feeling uneasy around Aiden, describing whispers and watching eyes. But she'd never spoken directly to adults about it. At school, teachers described Tristan as kind-hearted and eager, the kind of girl who wanted to make things better for others. Yet beneath her bright exterior was a growing fear she kept hidden. Why had no one intervened? Rachel met with Tristan's closest friends, who painted a picture of a girl trapped between hope and terror. One friend revealed that Tristan had tried to warn others about Aiden's behavior but was dismissed as overreacting. "We thought she was just stressed, but looking back it was more than that," she whispered, tears welling up. Meanwhile, the town itself began to crack under the weight of suspicion and grief. Parents demanded answers, schools ramped up security, and whispers of blame floated through classrooms and coffee shops. Many wondered if Aiden's family knew the full extent of their son's darkness, or if it had been hiding in plain sight all along. Then a new and alarming development emerged. Several weeks after Aiden's disappearance, his social media accounts reactivated briefly, posting a series of cryptic images, photos of empty streets, flickering lights, and one chilling shot of a clock stopped at 3:13 a.m. The timing wasn't random. It coincided with the last known time Tristan was seen alive. Detective Marlowe knew these weren't just taunts. They were calculated messages from someone still playing a dangerous game. Who was behind the account? Aiden himself? Or someone else trying to stir fear? The investigation took another unexpected turn when a local hiker found a backpack deep in the woods near the town's edge. Inside were more of Tristan's personal items, and a journal written in Aiden's handwriting. The entries detailed a growing hatred and a descent into a mindset where pain was not just inevitable but deserved. He described feeling invisible, angry at the world, and seeing Tristan as a symbol of everything he despised. But the last page of the journal was the most haunting. It wasn't a confession, it was a warning. This is only the beginning. They think it's over. They don't know what's coming next. Rachel felt the weight of those words as a storm began to gather. The case was no longer about just one tragic death. It was about uncovering what had pushed a child to the edge and whether others were at risk. The clock was ticking. Somewhere out there, Aiden Fucci was still free. And the shadows in this town were growing darker by the day. The hunt tightens. If you're still with me, make sure you're subscribed and ready, because what comes next is a descent into a darkness that no one expected. Like and comment to let me know you're watching. This case is spiraling out of control and every second counts. Detective Rachel Marlowe sat alone in her cluttered office, the glow of her computer screen casting sharp shadows across her tired face. The walls seemed to close in as she stared at the ever-growing mountain of evidence. Aiden Fucci was no longer just a missing boy. He was the pulse of a nightmare that had only just begun. 4 days, the police had been scouring the dense forests, abandoned buildings and forgotten corners of Port St. Lucie. Aiden's trail was cold, but the chilling social media posts had fueled a growing terror among locals. Was he planning something more? Or worse, was he already hiding in plain sight? Just as hope began to wane, a breakthrough came from an unlikely source. A small gas station clerk reported a suspicious young boy matching Aiden's description buying supplies with cash. Surveillance footage captured the pale, tense face of Aiden, eyes darting nervously, hands shaking as he paid. "This was the first solid lead we had in weeks," Rachel said later. "He was on the move and we had to find him before more damage was done." The chase intensified. Task forces were dispatched, checkpoints set up, and drones swept the skies. The town held its breath, but Aiden seemed to vanish with the wind, leaving behind only whispers and growing dread. Meanwhile, the investigation uncovered a deeper layer of deception. Aiden's family, already devastated, revealed cracks in their story. His parents, once adamant he was innocent, now admitted to hiding some disturbing facts. The boy had been seeing a counselor for anger issues, but the session stopped abruptly weeks before the murder. Worse still, neighbors recalled hearing strange noises from the Fucci home, a mix of shouting, crashes and eerie silence that followed. Aiden's mother was evasive and his father, overwhelmed by guilt, refused to speak. In the days that followed, detectives uncovered a hidden room in the Fucci house, sealed off, filled with disturbing trophies. Among them were violent drawings, newspapers clippings about other crimes and a collection of knives, some stained, some polished to a terrifying gleam. The room was a shrine to obsession, but also to something more calculated: Aiden's twisted sense of control. It was clear he'd been planning, rehearsing his descent for months. The chilling reality was sinking in. This wasn't a one-time tragedy, but the act of a disturbed mind carefully unraveling. Amidst the chaos, a more personal tragedy unfolded. Tristan's family, grappling with unbearable loss, were thrust into the public eye, their grief exploited by media and strangers alike. Her mother Linda made a public plea: "Please help us find answers. Help us find Aiden. This nightmare needs to end." The community rallied, but fear lingered like a shadow. School counselors doubled efforts to support students, parents tightened their grips on their children, and the lines between friend and stranger blurred. Then the unthinkable happened. Aiden's name appeared in a police dispatch. He'd been spotted near a crowded shopping mall, weaving through crowds with a nervous energy that screamed desperation. Officers moved in, but the boy slipped away again, this time leaving behind a note in his wake: "You don't understand what I've seen. I'm not done." Rachel felt the walls closing in. Aiden's mind was fractured, dangerous and rapidly unraveling. He was sending messages, daring the police and the town to chase a ghost that was always one step ahead. The final blow came when the investigators found a list, handwritten and hidden in one of Aiden's schoolbooks. Names, dates and cryptic symbols filled the page, but one name stood out: a teacher who had recently disciplined Aiden for disruptive behavior. The list suggested a pattern of targets, people who had crossed him, knowingly or unknowingly. Was Tristan just the first? Were others now at risk? Rachel knew the clock was ticking faster than ever. The manhunt for Aiden was no longer just about justice, it was about preventing another tragedy. And as the sun set over Port St. Lucie, the town braced for a confrontation that none of them were ready for. The breaking point. Before we get into the heart-pounding truth about Aiden Fucci's twisted path, make sure you're subscribed and ready, because what happens next will haunt you long after you finish watching. Hit like and drop a comment if you're with me. The darkest secrets are about to surface. The search for Aiden had turned Port St. Lucie into a pressure cooker of fear and desperation. Every shadow seemed to hide him. Every silence carried a threat. Detective Rachel Marlowe was working around the clock, piecing together fragments of a puzzle growing more disturbing by the hour. Then came the breakthrough no one expected. An anonymous tip led police to a remote abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The place was isolated, its rusted metal walls echoing the distant cries of a town gripped by tragedy. When the SWAT team moved in, the tension was suffocating. Inside the dark building, police found signs of recent habitation: makeshift bedding, scattered food wrappers and scrawled notes pinned to the walls. But Aiden was nowhere to be found. As the team combed the building, they uncovered a secret room hidden behind a false wall. It was a grim shrine: photos of Tristan, torn pages from schoolbooks, and chilling drawings depicting violent scenes. Aiden's handwriting covered every surface, each word dripping with rage and confusion. Among the debris was a hastily written letter addressed to the town, a manifesto filled with cryptic messages about pain, betrayal, and revenge. It was a cry from a fractured mind begging to be heard. But the letter ended with a chilling promise: "You haven't seen the last of me." The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. Parents were petrified, schools closed temporarily, and the media frenzy intensified. The hunt for Aiden became a manhunt for a boy many feared had slipped too far into darkness to return. Meanwhile, Rachel's team uncovered troubling details about Aiden's home life. His parents, struggling to cope, revealed that he had been battling severe mental health issues, including signs of psychosis and violent impulses. Attempts to get him help had been sporadic and ineffective, hampered by denial and fear. More disturbing was the revelation that Aiden had access to weapons at home, including knives and other sharp objects found scattered around the Fucci household. His mother tearfully admitted that she had hidden some but underestimated the danger. As Rachel dug deeper, it became clear that the tragedy was fueled not only by Aiden's torment but by the failure of the systems around him. School counselors who missed warning signs, family members who struggled to intervene, and a community unprepared for such darkness. Amid this grim backdrop, another twist emerged. Investigators discovered a video on Aiden's phone, recorded just days before Tristan's murder, where he detailed his hatred not just for Tristan but for anyone who had rejected or ignored him. The video ended with a chilling statement: "I'll make them all listen. One way or another." The pressure to find Aiden grew unbearable. With every passing hour, Rachel feared he might hurt someone else. Then the unexpected happened. Aiden's lawyer reached out to the police, offering to negotiate a peaceful surrender. The boy was alive, hiding in a nearby abandoned motel, scared and confused but ready to talk. Rachel led the delicate negotiation, walking a thin line between hope and despair. Hours of tense dialogue followed, during which Aiden revealed fractured memories of the night he killed Tristan, emotions twisted by rage, fear, and deep loneliness. He admitted that the murder was not just a moment of violence but a culmination of months of torment and isolation. Yet, he denied plans for further violence, insisting he was broken and wanted help. The town watched anxiously as Aiden was taken into custody, the nightmare finally seeming to end. But as Rachel reviewed the evidence one last time, a nagging doubt crept in. Had they really caught the whole truth? Or was this just the calm before another storm? Because buried deep within Aiden's writings was a reference to someone else. Someone who had pushed him over the edge, someone who might still be out there. The final reckoning. As Aiden Fucci sat in the sterile interrogation room, eyes hollow and voice trembling, Detective Rachel Marlowe pressed for answers. The boy's confession had rattled the town, but fragments of the story still didn't add up. There was a shadow lurking behind the tragedy, a figure barely visible but powerful enough to tip the scales. Hours of questioning revealed a disturbing truth. Aiden was not acting alone, nor entirely by his own fractured will. Deep beneath the surface of his rage and isolation was the influence of someone closer than anyone suspected. A classmate, a friend, someone who had manipulated and pushed him to the edge. Rachel's team revisited the list found in Aiden's notebook, the names, dates, and symbols that once seemed random now forming a pattern. Cross-referencing school records and social media messages, they uncovered encrypted conversations between Aiden and another student, a peer who had encouraged his darkest impulses, glorifying violence and betrayal. This accomplice was a master of deception, hiding behind a charming smile while pulling the strings in the shadows. Their influence had turned Aiden's pain into a weapon, shaping the fatal act that ended Tristan's life. Confronted with evidence, the second student, someone trusted by teachers and friends, cracked under pressure. The confession shocked the community. Jealousy, bitterness, and a deep desire for control had fueled a toxic alliance. Together, they had planned and executed the attack on Tristan, each driven by motives tangled in betrayal and fear. The revelation sent waves through the town. It wasn't just a tragedy born of one disturbed mind, it was a calculated betrayal from within their own circle, a brutal reminder that evil can wear a familiar face. But the story didn't end there. As Rachel pieced together the final puzzle, she uncovered another chilling detail, a hidden journal belonging to the accomplice, filled with plans that extended beyond Tristan, threats against other classmates, sinister schemes lurking just beneath the surface. The town's fragile sense of safety shattered completely. The courtroom became a battleground, with the community grappling to comprehend the dual nature of the crime, innocence destroyed by cruelty and manipulation. The trial revealed layers of pain and neglect, forcing everyone to confront uncomfortable truths about mental health, responsibility, and justice. In the end, Aiden was sentenced to juvenile detention, while his accomplice faced charges that would define their young lives forever. But for Tristan's family, no verdict could undo the loss, no punishment could heal the wounds. As the town tried to move forward, a haunting question lingered in the air: how many more secrets lay hidden beneath the surface? How many more silent cries had gone unheard? Detective Marlowe stood outside the courthouse one last time, the Florida sun casting long shadows across the pavement. She knew the nightmare wasn't truly over. The darkness had been exposed, but its scars would remain. And just when the town thought they could finally breathe again, a new message appeared. An anonymous letter slipped under the police department's door. It read simply: "They thought the nightmare ended. But the story is far from over." If this story sent chills down your spine, remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the next case is already waiting in the shadows. Thank you for watching, and never forget, sometimes the darkest monsters wear the most familiar faces.